What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? Don't worry, I'm not doing merch or nothing, so it's, maybe one day when I get bigger. But yeah, anyway, so it was pretty cool. So this is Franchise Fanatic, pretty awesome. Anyway, yeah, thought I'd wear it for not every video, just this video. Anyway, here we go. Today we're reviewing Thor Love and Thunder, aka Thor 4. Now, this is a movie that I've only seen one time. I saw it in theaters when it released, and I didn't love it. You know what I mean? It's weird. I think Taika Waititi is good in spots, and then sometimes he kind of fails a bit. But I was one of the people that really, obviously, like millions of other people, really liked Thor Ragnarok. But I didn't like how Thor was portrayed in that film, right? Because Thor in a lot of the other movies is kind of more boring and stoic, but that's not to say that's bad boring. Like, that's his character, right? And then you move on to Thor Ragnarok, where it's like, oh, okay, cool, he's funny now, he's doing jokes, and he's throwing bowling balls, and he's going, oh, they're going fun. Let's Loki, get help, let's play jokes. It's just like, okay, it's funny, like I'm laughing, it is funny, but it just felt really, really effing out of left field, and it didn't really make a whole lot of sense, right? It was like, why is he doing this? Why is he acting like that? Oh, because no one wanted him boring, so they had to change him behind the scenes. But I wanted a canonical reason, right? An actual lore reason why he's stupid. Thor Love and Thunder. They talk about it. Anyway, yeah, so this is kind of my overall thoughts on this film. So, again, I actually really enjoyed Thor 1. I enjoyed Thor 2. I'm sorry, I effing did. Thor 3 is, again, great, but I had a problem with Thor as a character. And then we get to this film, and I will admit, okay, I got a little bit carried away. I read online, I heard from literally everyone under the frickin' sun. This is the worst MCU movie. This is the worst Thor movie. It's a horrible film. It's bad. It makes no sense. It's terrible. And I actually really enjoyed it. Now, is it great? Maybe not. I think it's good, though. I think it is at least worth your time, if not worth a rewatch. So, the reason why I like Thor in this more is essentially just because they actually went and effing, explained why Thor is acting more like a human, why he's acting funny, why he's being goofy, and not just like, oh, I have to protect Asgard and then I wrote. Like, he actually is more of a, comedic, normal human in a sense because of his relationship with Jane. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, we get Thor Love and Thunder, right? We get Jane Foster returning after her absence for a while. I know she was in Endgame or whatever, but I heard that was a deep fake or whatever the F, deleted scene or whatnot, but she actually is back in this film, and she's great, she's looking good, she's doing a good job, she's a lot better than she was acting-wise in the prequels, which is great. Obviously, she's always been pretty good in the MCU, but it is really cool to see her back, and of course, she is playing, not Lady Thor, what's her name? Something Thor, the Mighty Thor, that's right, Mighty Thor, and obviously, Jane, they are doing a lot of comic book things, right, from the comics. Now, a lot of people are mad because they didn't follow X-Comic Y way, right? So you get Thor, the whole cancer thing where she's dying of cancer, and she's like, oh, maybe, I'll pick up Mjolnir, and some Asgardian way will save me, right? So they do that, and then they also do the whole, Gore the God Butcher with Christian Bale, which, look, I forgot Gore was in this movie for a lot of it, I remember him being in it, and, dying, but I don't remember a lot of the stuff in between, and it's really cool. Like, I just remember him heckling a bunch of freaking kids in a cage, but he does a lot more than that, right? He's a good-looking villain. In fact, that in that he looks like scary and terrifying. It's almost like an Evil Dead character, with like the shadows and all that. I think that was really, really cool. So yeah, I think Gore did a really good job in this. I think that, obviously people are mad that he's not killing all the gods and he's not doing specific things in the comics. But I thought it was great, for what he's doing and the villains, some of the MCU villains have a habit of not being too great. Obviously you get, your Thanos and your Loki and your Killmonger or whatever. But I think Gore is honestly really effing good. I think he's one of the best, just in terms of, being scary and being a villain. But also, I think that it's a cool kind of intro that it opens up on Gore trying to, care for his daughter, just kind of live. His daughter dies in his arms, and he's like, hey, he finally goes to see this god, whatever the god is, and the god lets him down, and he, of course, gets mad, and that kind of summons the Necrosword, right? This evil, barbarian, almost medieval-looking black sword that kind of goes into his arms, and he's like, oh, he's basically, he's already pissed at the gods, right? He's already mad, but then the sword kind of fuels that anger, and like, hey, you gotta kill every god, so literally it's a curse, right? The sword is literally cursing him to do this stuff. And obviously, there's this revelation at the end where he meets Eternity, and he kind of, finishes his main mission. And he's like, oh, well, of course I want to do that, right? My daughter died and I'm mad. And Thor's just, obviously Thor chooses love and all that with, of course, the Jane subplot as well. And obviously you get, Thor, I guess his, I never picked up on this, but his, I guess, way of living kind of is challenged, right, when he meets Zeus in Omnipotent City or whatever it's called, and he throws the effing, the lightning bolt or whatever, the thunderbolt, and it knocks him out, Zeus. And then we see Thor kind of question his integrity with certain gods, Greek gods. Same thing as Gore, right? So I like that Gore and Thor, it's not just their names rhyme. They both are kind of also spelled a little bit the same, but they both have a unique reason to dislike the gods, right? Never meet your heroes, which is a pretty shitty, takeaway. But it's true, like Gore and Thor both felt, dethroned in a sense, and made fun of and belittled by these gods. And Gore took that in a hateful way, and Thor took that in a, screw it, whatever. But in the end, of course, obviously Thor chooses love. But I love the fact that, again, speaking of love, they actually really went into, why Thor is acting that way. Again, that was a big, big problem with Ragnarok, and I'm glad they dealt with that. But also, the whole Jane thing, I think, again, like I said, she's great. I like the element that, she is fighting this cancer, and every single time she picks up Mjolnir, it weakens her a little bit, which is in the comics. But I felt like, that was a good way to do that. And of course, she does die, and she goes to Valhalla, which is cool, that she, meets Heimdall and all that, which is awesome. But as far as negatives, obviously this is probably the most woke Thor movie. Yes, I don't like that stuff either. It is... being woke isn't a negative. It's just something I personally don't agree with. That doesn't detract the film's value or quality. But there is kind of a lot of like, okay, Valkyrie's bi. Okay, well, what? I don't give a shit. Whatever. But then it's like, oh, Korg is like, for some reason, this is what I mean. Taika Waititi pulls a George Lucas in this film. He makes a lot of little itty-bitty dumb mistakes that could have just been prevented if he did another shot, or, worked a little bit harder on one aspect of the CGI, or, I don't know, watched his other effing movie, because Korg, the rock guy, hey, I'm the rock guy, whatever. In Thor Ragnarok, he was like, yeah, my mom, or whatever. So, you can tell me, oh, Korg's gay in the comics. I don't care. This is a movie, different. It's really weird that he's like, oh, my mom did this, and then in this film he's like, yeah, we're all males, actually, we're all males, and he sings a whole song about having sex with a dude, like, holding his hand by the fire pit, and I'm like, what the fuck, I'm like, this is weird, like, it falls past, oh, it's just inclusion, tick the box. It falls into, this is kind of gross, you know what I mean? Like, it was funny, because it's Korg, and he's got a funny voice, and it's Taika Waititi, but I don't know, it just felt a little bit too off-color, a little bit strange to me, a little bit kind of cringy in a way. So that kind of detracted a lot from the movie for me. It was, not a lot, but it took me out of the scene. So I'm like, oh, Thor's talking to Jane, and Korg and Valkyrie having a nice heart-to-heart, and it's beautiful vision, beautiful scenery with the space or whatever before they get to the black and white world, and then Korg's over here like, yeah, we're gonna make a baby with another dude, and I'm like, what the fuck, you can what? It was just weird. So yeah, personally, a bit weird, but also, obviously I'm anti-woke, but also it was just very forced and shoved down your throat. Speaking of shoved down your throat, let's talk about that CGI, because my god, some of the CGI in this movie is really freaking good. Like, it is insanely well. Like, I really don't remember the amount of CGI that was actually good, right? You get the opening battle with the Guardians of the Galaxy. That all looks really good. Rocket and Groot, obviously, they look fine. They kind of have to. And then you get, of course, the big battle scenes and the locations and the big black and white, planet or the moon or whatever that was called. I think that was cool, like really fun, visually intensive and striking stuff. I really think Taika Waititi, he makes this movie feel different than any other Marvel movie, right? With the music, with the atmosphere, with the cinematography, with the action, with everything, right? This feels, I'm playing Funko Fusion right now, and I just finished the Masters of the Universe part with He-Man. I've never seen it. I really don't have any effing drive to see it, but I know a lot about it, right? From memes and just from culture or whatnot. And this movie, I could tell very, very strictly and very, I guess authentically, captures that He-Man aesthetic. You can just tell with the colors on the freaking Blu-ray. You know what I mean? It has that Master of the Universe He-Man type of energy, and I think that's good. I think that actually fits Thor. So he's good at that, but and most of the CGI regarding that, aesthetic looks really great, right? I like the black and white stuff. I think that's really cool. I like, when Jane has Mjolnir and it kind of lights up her face, you see more color. Obviously a lot of the CGI monsters and creatures and locations look great, but then you get, very beginning, you get, I think it was Was it Thor's mom or Thor? It was someone with like a baby Thor and like a little thing. Obviously, it's meant to be a joke, right? But it just looks effing terrible. Like, not just the baby, it was like Flash level CGI bad, the movie Flash, but also the adult in that shot looked very bad. You also get Axel, or whatever his name is, Heimdall's son, right? Who's fine in this. I think that's fine. Like, when they're doing the big battle in the end with Gore and the sword and all that, that looks fine. Looks good. But you know the epic scene. Everyone knows the freaking scene. It's in the thumbnail. It's Axel's big face popping out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey, Thor, I need your help." And he's like, "Oh, where are you? Black and white. Okay, well." And you get that, and it just... Apparently they patched it or they fixed it, because I remember it looking really, really bad in theaters, and it didn't look that great on my TV, but I don't know, maybe I read somewhere they tried to fix it or patch it or whatnot. Maybe they fixed the glitch, but it still looks like dookie. So yeah, it's really weird how you can get like really, really amazing CGI, like normal Marvel tier CGI, and then you get a few weird shots of just complete garbage. And don't try to be like, "Oh, it's the budget. Oh, they ran out of time. Oh, they're only human." It's like, no, if you can make your movie look 99.9% fine, then what the F is happening with that 1%? You know what I mean? Just take the extra few minutes or whatever, how long it takes, fix the baby so it doesn't look so goddamn weird, fix the Axel's face so it doesn't look so weird. You know what I mean? It's really odd to me. You also get, Taika Waititi trying to make this more funny, like Thor Ragnarok, which I don't have a problem with, because now that I know why Thor was acting goofy in the other film, and obviously he's not actually as goofy in this. I remember this movie being a lot more silly and goofy and just kind of stupid humor, but it really isn't. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm mixing up this with Ragnarok, because there are jokes and it is funny, stupid, silly, goofy, but it isn't to the point where I was like, "Oh man, this is kind of too much." You know what I mean? I never got that. I like the play they're doing with the weird actors, and Melissa McCarthy's playing Hela. I think Thor isn't as jokey as he was in Ragnarok. There are still jokes with Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, which I like. Those are funny. The Screaming Goats, I found that funny. But you also get, the I guess, bastardization, I guess, of the Greek gods with Zeus and all that. Again, that was funny. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moments where, obviously Jane has cancer, so that's obviously not something to joke about. But also, you get the sense that Thor cares about Jane, and he's not just like, "Oh, you stay here, I'm gonna go over here." No, there are moments where Thor turns down the goofy dial, and he actually talks to her like a human, and isn't just making a stupid, silly joke. So I found that great. I think they actually hit the balance better with the humor in this film than they did in Ragnarok, which I liked. Obviously, like I said, regarding his jokes, though, there are some things that don't quite land, and this is... Obviously, humor is subjective, right? You might not find the Screaming Goats funny. I might, right? That's not like an issue with the movie. That's just personal taste. It's like the woke thing. It's not an issue unless that one scene, like I said, kind of made it weird. But I think that the whole element of the comedy with, the entire film practically, like I said, it's just overall better. But there is one thing I have a problem with, and that is in New Asgard, they have they kind of turned from like a New Haven to like an amusement area, whatever, with like sightseeing and whatnot, and there's an ice cream shop that says Infinity Cones, and at first I was like, "Ha ha, funny! Instead of Infinity Stones, it's Infinity Cones, and there's ice cream! Laugh!" It's like, yeah, it's funny for 1 second, and then you think about it and you're like, wait a minute, that's like making a fucking 9/11 ice cream shop. You know what I mean? That's like making a Holocaust concentration camp ice cream shop. That's like making a Boston Marathon horrible event into an ice cream shop. You know what I mean? It's like taking one of our real-world global F-ups, like COVID the movie. You know what I mean? And it's just a bunch of talking Fauci things or whatever. I don't know, but it's just really, really weird that... I get it. Taika wanted to make a funny joke, and it was funny for 1 second. But then again... When you think about it, I'm like, who did King, even though kings are male, Queen, I'm going to call her Queen Valkyrie, I don't really know why she decided to approve that. That's kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like, half of the universe, half of every universe on every level ever got blipped, right, decimated, turned to ash for X amount of years. And then you're just going to go and make an ice cream store? Again, it's one of those jokes that is funny, but the joke does, in fact, ruin the world. It ruins the film in a sense, because it brings it down to, oh, Taika wanted a cheap laugh over actually paying attention to the source material, like Korg, like all this stuff. It provided either a cheap laugh or a box tick, and with that, that is an objective error, right? It's funny, but it's also really, really bad and in poor taste. Like, that makes no sense. Why would you glorify such a horrible, traumatic event into an ice cream store? I guess your only comeback would be like, oh, well, I guess they're cool with it now because it's over. But it's like, yeah, well, 9/11 happened whatever amount of years ago. We're still mad about it. You know what I mean? So that it's moot. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. If half the freaking universe evaporated, we wouldn't like that 20,000 years from now. You know what I mean? We wouldn't dedicate ice cream to it. Anyway, I'm done. It's just really stupid. But yeah, other than that, other than a few weird CGI things and a few jokes that don't land and are really poor taste, a few things that are, again, box ticking for no reason, cut it out. No one would even know it's there. I do think this is a good Thor movie. Like, honestly, I don't think it deserves that much hate. I mean, it's fun. It's funny. It's got great action. It has a good story. I like the Gore villain. I like his MO, right? I like that Thor is dealing with his MO and him trying to kind of realize who he is and find a purpose in life. I like the Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, like, jealous ex-girlfriend vibe they got going. I think that's funny. I like the Screaming Goats. I like that the Jane subplot, how that kind of, gives Natalie Portman a reason to come back to the MCU to kind of, do this one last time type thing. I think that's really great. I think it all works, I mean, that's all good stuff. I think Tessa Thompson is good, even though for some reason she's called King. That makes no sense. She's a woman. But you also get just a bunch of other weird things that are happening with, obviously, like I said, Jane and Thor and how they kind of mesh together, which is great as well. But and then we also get Thor and his daughter, what I mean? That's crazy. I didn't think that would even happen. But here we are in when did this release? 2020 something. When did this release? 2022. Jesus. And yeah, it looks really great. I mean, it truly does. Like, it holds up, I guess, in that sense for 2 years ago. But no, I think that him getting his Gore's daughter, so Thor is an uncle now. I think that kind of works. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with that little girl, if they're planning on keeping her, or if they're just going to scrap that whole idea entirely. I don't know. They are making a Thor 5, and apparently they do want to make it less jokey and more serious. I know Taika Waititi got a lot of slack for that. Chris Hemsworth also kind of beat himself up over it, in a sense, metaphorically beating himself up, because he had a lot to do with the making of this movie, actually, in terms of actually doing ad-libbing and just kind of going off the script and winging it and making jokes. And some of the, like I said, 90% of the jokes work, right? Like, it is a funny movie, but you also get the sense of, I guess Thor's a little too goofy, but I honestly liked him more in this film than I did in Thor Ragnarok. So I think Chris kind of being like, oh, I went too far and I became a parody of myself. Like, I get it, you kind of did, but I don't know, I didn't mind it in this one as much, what I mean, upon this rewatch. Again, I remember it being a horrible, but upon this rewatch, I don't know, man, I really enjoyed it a lot. I mean, yeah, there's a few issues like I mentioned, but I like the atmosphere, I like the tone, I like the villain, I like the plots, how they all kind of converge in the end. I think it has a good setup, a good payoff. I freaking teared up at the end, which I never really do at Marvel movies, so I mean, they did a good job at making people, the audience feel emotional, which is good. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think they did a really, really good, he did a really good job with this film. I remember hating it. Like, I was like, yeah, this movie sucks. Like, it's one of the worst Marvel movies ever made. And yeah, there's a few things I don't agree with personally, or a few jokes I'd change, or a few whatever. But after I finished the movie and the credits rolled, I was like, okay, I like that. I liked it. I mean, it had some good action, some good humor, a really good plot, good narrative, good CGI for the most part. And I think it, really had a good message in there as well about just love and the whole reason why Gore even turned evil and got mad is because of his love for his daughter, and Thor kind of reminding him with his love for Jane. I think it's really good stuff, and obviously the friendship aspect, it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there's some good jokes in there as well. I do wish that, what's-her-face, Queen Valkyrie and, what's-her-face, oh yeah, Lady Thor, Jane, I wish they got flicked too. It's always the dudes, never the women. I guess then it'd be rated R, huh? You can have a dude, but you can't have a girl. Stupid, right? Everyone wants equal opportunity. I don't know. Should have gotten flicked. Anyway, I thought it was a good movie, though, overall, joking aside. Yeah, like I said, it's not the best Thor movie. I think the best made overall would still probably be Ragnarok in terms of everything that we're, talking about. But in terms of just, having fun, having a great time, I really do think that Thor: Love and Thunder is worth a rewatch or worth your time or whatnot, because I think it's really great. You know, I mean, it's way more fun than Thor 1 and 2. Not to say that those movies aren't good and aren't fun, because they are. But, you know, I think it's a really cool balance that he was kind of able to better perfect in this film than he did in Ragnarok. Again, one or two things that would change, but overall, pretty fun time. I'm glad I got to rewatch it. Next is going to be the I Am Groot shorts. So not a movie, not a show, kind of like these little short thingies. I don't even know if it's canon, but I'm going to be watching it and reviewing that. Probably a little bit of a shorter video, but I'm going to give Thor: Love and Thunder, I don't know. I had a good time with it. I think it's pretty fun. I'll probably give it a B. I think that's pretty fair. I think it's B or B plus, something like that. You pick. I'm good with either, actually. But yeah, I think it's a good movie. So first movie I saw in 2025. Not too bad. Again, not the best Marvel movie ever, but it's nowhere near the worst. Which, I don't know. I mean, what is the worst so far? I don't know. Effing Incredible Hulk? Maybe? I don't know. Iron Man 2? I mean, there isn't really a bad Marvel movie. But, you know, if I had to pick on the bottom, it'd probably be like Hulk or Iron Man 2. This is nowhere near the bottom, just because, you know, everything else besides a few of the jokes, it does work, it does land. I think it's a pretty fun time. So tell me down below in the comments what your thoughts about Thor: Love and Thunder are. You're probably going to hate it like the rest of the internet, but hey, again, I'm not just saying this to be different or, oh, you really like it? Well, you like everything. No, as I gave you my reasons, I didn't think it was perfect, but I think it was better upon rewatch and better than what I thought. You know, I mean, a lot of these, which I'm glad I'm doing this, because a lot of these Marvel shows or movies, I'm like, yeah, it's shit. And then I rewatch it and I'm like, oh, wow, it's actually either still bad or not as bad as what I thought. You know what I mean? Speaking of bad, though, we're going to get into She-Hulk, which I think is the lowest of the low in terms of comic book media. So that's going to be interesting. So, yeah, give me some time to watch that. Obviously, I got school coming up in about 12 days, give or take. So, you know, once that starts, I will be obviously more busy than I have been on break. But I'm going to try my best to still get to all these Marvel things very soon. We're almost at the end, actually. We got a few more shows, a few more movies left, and then we should be all caught up. So thank you guys for watching my MCU review. Again, I'm going to give Thor, we'll give it a final. We'll give Thor: Love and Thunder. If you made it this far, we'll give it a B+. I think that's fair. Yeah, few issues there, but it's fun and probably better than what you've been told or what you remember. Thank you guys, and we'll see you, and my hat will see you in the next video.